Hi, Leah.
Hey, Judy.
Welcome to our podcast, The Anatomy of Ancestral Alchemy. I am Judy Who,
I am Leah Constance.
and we have been talking about what ancestral alchemy is and how to do it in your lives day to day so that you can rid yourself of childhood and generational trauma and live your life. Basically, this keeps changing, but that's where I am right today.
Yes, I think that's well said.
Okay, good. I wanted to talk a little bit about something that happened last weekend that Leah and I participated in, which I hosted a live weekend intensive called Embody Your Boundaries. And it's basically teaching people in real time, like how to embody your boundaries, decolonize your relationships, and just create this new path to joy and liberation. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about the process, a little bit about what happened, and then I'm going to bring Leah in. Zooming out, we've talked a little bit about how to trust your intuition, right? Like the body is so wise, so are our ancestors that we're trying to connect with and clear out stuff with. So I had this impulse to lead a workshop. I had done it before, but it took a long time for me to get my courage back. And I planned it on the anniversary of my wedding, which is also funny because in my way to liberation, I dissolved my marriage. So it was interesting that I did it then. And it's also interesting that it was the weekend right before the full moon in Aquarius or Aries. So it's
Yep.
what are the odds, right?
Yep. New beginning.
New beginnings. Oh my gosh. And so what happened was I love doing these groups and I do online groups and this group in particular because it's let's see who comes and like it and I get to see what happens because there's synchronicities and dynamics that are repetitive. So I had a group of 10 people, including me, and it was about genocide. Basically, I had members from whose family members were stolen from Africa. I had someone who is indigenous to Turtle Island, this land. And so what I knew or what I was predicting was that it was going to be pretty big. And I was able to confirm it after the first day. And so at that point, I was like, Leah, I'm feeling very overwhelmed by all that I'm feeling into the group. Look at my voice is like quieting right
Uh-huh.
now. Let me slow this down. I basically was scared. Not scared of what was going to happen, scared that I didn't have capacity. Okay, zoom out for a second. What do I mean by capacity? As a therapist, now turned boundary coach, I'm constantly reading the nervous systems of the people that I work with for capacity. So, this window of tolerance that you're able to activate the stuff that you need to work on or release, but not be overactivated so that you're dissociating and not in your body. So, there's this window of tolerance. And I was exiting my window of tolerance because of the level of collective trauma that was in the room. Thankfully, Lee and I are in constant contact, and I was like, your offer to come support me on Sunday, can I please take you up on it? And so we felt into it, and Leah came. And thank goodness, because I really needed to be in it to help us get through it. And Leah just held a beautiful way of doing this. So my intention, this long roundabout story, my intention is to process a little bit of it and give you, listener, viewer, some of the fruits of our labor while also honoring the anonymity. So I'll share enough details so you get the understanding of it, but I'm not sharing the full history of the people that came because I want to honor that that's their story and they should be able to share it and not me. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Beautiful. Do you want to share a little bit about, I don't know, what you want to share about the weekend?
Yeah. Yeah. So my role was to actively, as Judy and I had talked about it a bit on Saturday morning, to hold the divinity of the room and to really tune into the energy and understand where people might need a little bit more grounding, where they might need some clearing, where the space might need some clearing, and then hold needed roles within the activities. So that was my general role of being there and coming in. And also I think based on how you and I have co-created this podcast together and other spaces, it felt like we could intuitively play off each other without it being super planned.
Yes.
And that felt really lovely, at least within our dynamic. I know that you put a lot of effort, understandably, into the agenda and
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
And it was also my first time witnessing family constellations from an in-person role play or invoking perspective, meaning that people were playing different familial or ancestral roles or energies.
So I'm going to just jump in for language just to make it clear. It's not role playing.
Yeah.
You're literally channeling the energy.
Yeah, that's the invoking.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So I just want to make it clear, like it's not like psychodrama. Yeah. So zooming out for a second to give you all a little bit of history, Family Constellations was appropriated by Bert Hellinger, who was a German missionary who learned this information from a Zulu tribe that he was working with, and they had chosen him to like learn this information. And then he took that information, developed it further in the US with family therapy, and created Family Constellations. Why am I sharing this? Because it's another, just a reminder, this was appropriated by folks who have been practicing this for a very long time. So this is not something, I just want to put that out there.
Yeah.
So it's literally the Zulu tribe and many other indigenous communities too, is they're connected to their ancestors all the time. They don't see one timeline and then this, and then it's only the physical presence. They see spirits and they see guides, and they connect to the land, and they connect to trees and as living creatures that are also their ancestors. So I just want to put that in there.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, that's really helpful. Yeah, I think witnessing witnessing the channeling and the invocation process was really powerful. And it was really powerful to see it in person in lifetime. That was different for me. I've seen examples of family constellations online. So I think it was beautifully facilitated by you, and I could really see the power of this practice in the room. Yeah. So I guess the last thing I'll say for now is I had two very unique invocations. One was channeling the energy of white supremacy. And so that was different because it wasn't a person, but it was a thought form.
Yes.
Or at least that's how I think of it, as a thought form. And then I also was invoked into channeling somebody's oldest son.
Yeah. So let's do the first one. Okay. So again, I'm going to share bits of information that are enough for context, but not private information. Okay. And I'm going to just say my client who was able to do the constellation. So for a second, the whole point of the weekend intensive was to clear out childhood and generational trauma so you can live your life now. We don't understand how much our bodies and our nervous systems are mired, are weighed down, are burdened by unprocessed trauma, not only of this life. It's so interesting. The forces do not want us to be free. Okay, let me just say this. That we're so mired down with so much trauma that has been decontextualized. I'm pulling from Resmaa Menakem, author of My Grandmother's Hands, that has decontextualized from historical collective traumas like war or genocide or forced famine, okay? We don't realize that it lives in our body to this moment, okay? So this particular one I wanted to share was this participant wanted to come in because she wanted to feel like she could have her happiness, but constantly felt burdened by being surveilled or assessed on if she could or could not. So felt like she needed permission to go for her happiness, right? And so what came forward was, it was very clear, we always think it's about our mom.
Super Freudian.
Right? Like
It's about our mom,
about your mom or your
Yeah.
dad. Like you didn't get enough love from your mom, or you didn't get enough support from your dad or whatever, which, okay, that's 10%. Okay. But what we don't realize is that parent grew up in a context of collective trauma, right? So using my own history to give some context is my parent was highly critical of me because she didn't have opportunities, and so projected those hopes onto my body. And I perceived it as I was never good enough. It wasn't me who was not good enough. It was her life because She couldn't choose, was her story in her head. So back to the client was, we were wanting to explore, like, why do you need to feel like you have to have authority or permission to go for your happiness? So we put up her mom. And then what came in, I just sensed was there's something else here. I don't know what it is. So I picked one of my cycle breakers who's worked with me for a while. And I was like, can you just be whatever's missing here? I don't know. And she started pacing around. And she's, I would want to go around the whole perimeter and just watch. And I was like, huh, interesting. And then I checked in with the participants, and my client was like, I'm feeling scared. And then the mom was, I've been protecting my child from this, essentially, right? So if you don't, the context that I'm missing here is this is a person of African descent, okay? Stolen from Africa, okay? Her ancestors stolen from Africa and landed in certain places where they were needed for chattel slavery, okay? So this parent who was critical because she was actually protecting her child from the slave owner is who we were able to kind of name. I was like, are you a slave owner? They're like, yes. I was like, oh. So zooming out for a second, if you feel you can't rest because you're lazy, or someone's watching you and determine if you're qualified or doing a good job or should get something or not, or you're impacted by capitalism, right? Do you know the roots of capitalism? Chattel slavery. Okay. So it means what I'm trying to say to you, dear listener, is this is programming that's in everybody's DNA, regardless of how you look. You're just one role or the other, one dynamic or the other. Oppressor, oppressed. And if you're oppressed, you'll likely become the oppressor and oppress someone else, because look at the history right now that's we're living in right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So then that's when I brought in Leah to land this charge. And can you say a little bit about what you felt in your body?
Yeah, it was almost surreal.
I have never seen you like that. It was overwhelming to me to see you like that. I was like, Leah, are you still in there? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was really, I dropped right into it, which is so interesting. And what came through was a rage that I have never experienced in my life. That is the best way that I can put it. I've experienced rage. This felt like exceedingly harmful, dominating, entitled rage that could not be spoken to. Like
Yes.
nothing could permeate me. And my heart rate went way up and I could feel my eyes almost twitching. That's how intense it was for me physically. And I just remember saying to you, I'm fucking furious. And then my body just wanted to start trapping everybody. So I literally just started making like a figure eight around the colonizers and the colonized.
Trapping both. Do you see that?
And then I even had the energy of moving towards the client that this constellation was organized around. And she wasn't even a part of the actual
Yes.
constellation. And I was still I was like bumping up against her energy field, and then I would just start entrapping everybody again. And then somebody said something, I don't remember what it was because I was so in this energy, but somebody said something that landed me stationary, and I was positioned where I could still keep my eyes on both groups. And the energy felt very hypervigilant. It felt, and I also, even though I was so enraged, there was this dynamic of also like the hypervigilance was coming from a place of being unsafe.
Yes.
So it was like literally the embodiment of my system went to this extreme in order to counteract the amount of fear I was feeling.
Yes.
Parts of me hate that. Parts of me not in that energy hate that because I want to be like, just who cares about the humanity in there? But
Right.
but there is humanity in there, which is the whole point of this constellation.
Right.
And yeah,
I'm going to just digest a little bit of what
Yeah.
you brought up. There's humanity there. This is like the foundation of my framework, which is everyone is unconditionally worthy. Same size circle. It's like this visualization of everyone's the same size. Billionaires are the same size as people who are poor and being forced to starve and not being able to afford housing. Same size, okay? And it's looking at the thought forms that inform our behavioral choices. That's what I'm looking at. That's what I'm trying to liberate people from, okay? Is these systems that we've been that have infiltrated our bodies for generations. That's what I'm trying to get people to understand so they can get it out of their boundaries and embody their full humanity, okay? So one of the exercises that I did was I had certain people who did a lot of murdering and claiming of land, right? Hold up this sheet of paper like white supremacy or colonizer or patriarchy. And then I let the client look at that. And then I took the piece of paper and I moved it off the body and then put it on the wall. So there's this lived, like visible experience of separating certain like people from the thought form. If we do not, please hear this. I'm going to maybe raise my voice. I might curse a little. If we do not separate the thought form from the human body, we will repeat the oppression. We will continue to repeat the harm of supremacy thinking, right? Because it's just the counterbalance to the shadow, right? It's the, oh my gosh, this is so bad. I'm going to be hyper vigilant and be super, super good. It's not that. It's about balance. It's about being human, the give and take, the I'm not perfect and I'm sorry, I'm going to hold myself accountable. It's that we need to reconnect to. So, what was interesting was as a facilitator, I was able to work with my client and bring in well ancestors to reinforce and strengthen my client, to be connected to ancestors that came before her. And then I brought in someone that represented the motherland. So, the motherland, this is something important from family constellations, has a very similar energetic imprint as your mother. As your mother. So basically, when I've done constellations for 20 years, this is the first time I'm actually embracing my identity as a family constellations practitioner. Okay. When I've studied this, the motherland will mourn her children, whether through forced migration, through death like famine, will feel a connection and a longing to protect their children. Okay. So, long story short, part of this healing process of embodying your boundaries has to do with reconnecting your body to your sense of self, right? Your sovereignty, connecting to the land from which we come, and connecting to our ancestors, which includes the land. Okay. So, I had this beautiful line of ancestors and Africa behind this participant, this client. And I had a choice. The energy of you was so intense. The slave owners, and there's like so many other things that was representing this like capitalistic, patriarchal and rage. And what I did was I brought in a statue of Guan Yin, like around, is it the goddess of compassion? Lots of different connections to different lands for this deity. And I just was like, I don't know what to do. So I brought in and put her in front of the client, and everyone just started moving and aligning to love and compassion. And I was like, okay, you all just keep focusing here and feed into that connection of love and compassion from this deity. I'm going to go and just see what happens with this other. Do you remember any shift there?
Oh yeah.
What was the shift?
Yeah, I called it a reckoning. Like I was having a reckoning because it was a power struggle. That's how
Between-
it felt between me and Guanyin.
Okay.
How it felt internally was like, oh love, oh no, oh love, oh no, no, Oh, love. It was just like that, like constant power struggle of being faced with something that was actually causing me to question.
Ah,
So it was bringing humanity into the thought form.
yes. Right.
Yeah.
And so what I basically did was I just banished them from the constellation.
Yeah.
I was just like, you know what? We're not going to focus on you anymore. And I just had everyone turn their back on the slave owner and capitalism or white body supremacy. And I just focused my energy, my attention on this healing process with love and compassion. The piece that I want you to hold, if you want to, this is all free will and choice, right? This is the choice we have day to day. I can sit and blame capitalism and white body supremacy and patriarchy on the state of my life and why I can't focus on all the things that I want to bring into the world and why I can't rest and blah, blah, blah. When I do that, I'm giving consent, my life force, to capitalism, to white body supremacy, to the people who have taken power generationally from bodies. Okay? What happened was I just offered the choice of focus on your living and your humanity and your caretaking of not just you, but your people, which includes others in your community. So it's like just keep feeding yourself and each other. And it was just the most beautiful movement of she was able to just lean back into her ancestors and she was holding them and allowing her to be held, right? Unconditionally. Didn't have to do anything or justify her existence, just was a descendant of this lineage of choices, good, bad, wrong, whatever. All of those choices accumulated into this one precious human. And one of the things that she did afterwards is she banished colonialism from her body. She took this like yoga bolster because we put these thought forms, systems on the wall, right? Not on the people, we put them on the wall. And she took a bolster and was like, I banish you from my body, right? It was so amazing. Yeah. But I want to tell you this next piece. When I got home that night, my body seized up. I went into panic. I started listening for someone who's going to burn down my home, that I was going to get punished. How dare I provide the key to people to liberate themselves, essentially, which is all internal work. And I started feeling, I can feel the fear come up again. My shoulders are raised, like I'm going to get stopped.
Yeah. Yeah. You're facilitating this movement.
Yes, of standing up to power, right? I have in my body ancestry of people who were abused their power and murdered people. And I also have in my DNA ancestry of people who were murdered. So it's like internal war. Who's right? Who's wrong? What's right? What should I do? And I just kept being like, okay, nothing wrong with me, nothing wrong with them. What's this data? It's fear, right?
Yeah.
It's fear. I have so much fear of what is going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's this crossroads. Do I choose courage and go, I'm going to stop this cycle? Because if I succumb to my fear and not offer these workshops or not give the key to people, which is themselves, not me. I'm not the key master. I don't have, you have the key. You're the one you've been waiting for this whole time. You can give yourself permission to be liberated. Okay. I can help people find that in them, or I can shrink back down and just do therapy as I was trained and protect my kids.
Yeah.
And this morning I came to the realization, I was like, fuck that noise. I'm going to liberate. Because if I prioritize my kids over anyone else's kid, I'm expanding my circle size and thinking that I'm more important than other people. And that means I'm not really protecting my kids.
Yeah. And that type of energy actually showed up in my older son.
Oh, the second constellation you're in. Yes.
Yeah. Actually, we think what's protective is the opposite.
Can you say more without disclosing too much info?
Yeah, and not always, but not always, because there's very real harm to kids here too.
Yes.
In a nutshell, what I feel like can happen is that our protective response is actually not protective because it's blocking healing from happening that can actually truly protect the child.
So let me use my experience as an example, okay? My mom, who I love and respect and admire, every single thing that she's done has brought me to this place. I just want to make that very clear, okay? My mom not dealing with her trauma, which was very real, kept her from being present into a relationship with me as who I am, right? The resentment, the anger, the sorrow, the pain was living in her, right? And rather than grieving it, really grieving it, the early loss of her parent, her required choices to survive for her family, like all of these very real big things that were expected of her that she did, because she never grieved it, she could not be present with me. And so her adaptation was to protect me from it by being hypercritical and hypervigilant and telling me exactly how to live my life so I don't ever have to deal with that. But it didn't actually protect me. It incarcerated me the same way that she was incarcerated.
Yes.
And so Leah's describing, she represented a child of my client, and the child came up with this message, which was
by you setting the boundaries, you are now protecting me and making me stronger.
yes, by you setting the boundary, it's actually protecting me. Yes.
Yeah. Would it be okay if I gave another, like, in the moment example, like daily example of embodying compassion amidst these times?
Yes, please. I need it.
Okay. Was talking with somebody on my street where I live the other day, and they posed this question around, what do we do if the I word, just being vague on purpose because we're on social media.
Surveilled.
The I word shows up here. How do we respond to that? And it's a great conversation. And we talked about how both of us have parts of us that wanted to yell and throw things and fuss and scream and cause a scene. And we're both white-bodied, so I'll name that here. And I said to her, I think one thing we really need to be thoughtful of is centering the person of color in this situation, which would be the person being assaulted. And I think we need to turn our love to them as much as we can in a moment like that and ask, what is something I can do for you in this moment right now? Who can I call? That is a way of still intervening in a situation, but channeling that love to the person who needs it the most instead of fueling the fire around it. So that's one example that I have. The other reason I say that is because if we fuel the fire, sometimes that oftentimes, sadly, that ends up landing not on us.
Right.
It ends up landing on the person of color being assaulted.
Yes.
So actually, by staying in that loving directive lane towards that person, the hope is that you're actually protecting them more.
Yes.
And then we talked about how with the I people, I'm giggling because I'm like, oh, I really want to say it. Can we tune in and center ourselves enough to speak to any glimmer of humanity that is still left in their bodies? Because again, when fire meets fire, what does it make? More fire.
Yes.
When fire meets water, what happens?
Yes.
Something different, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have feedback on this. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
So I've been binge watching folks saving their neighbors because I am imprinting that so that if it happens, I know exactly what to do.
Yep.
One of the examples was these two I people were trying to abduct someone and he was resisting. Thank goodness. So just for a second, don't go softly into the quiet night. Resist, okay?
Love is still fierce.
Okay. And the community members came and started like telling them to just let him go. And like more and more people came, right, to support energetically and physically. This is what I need people to understand. You do not stay in your homes, especially if you're in a white privileged body. You do not stay in your home.
Nope.
You go out and you put your privileged, resourced body on the line for your sibling because you know who you're standing up for as you protect your neighbor. You are eventually standing up to you. I'm just going to go on a rant for a second. Is that okay?
Go for it.
I have so much rage for my beautiful liberal folks, white-bodied folks, who are now enraged that some of them are being detained, right? And not getting due process and all of these things like that. Now they're mad. I'm like, it was okay when your Black and brown siblings were having this done for generations, and now you're mad about your rights being like taken. Like I just want to put that here.
That's a lot.
Please take and consume. If you protect the most vulnerable in your population, you will be included in that. Stop navel fucking gazing. Sorry, can you please? Please
I'm like, no sorry.
consider.
Yeah.
I'm in a Asian body, so I'm like, I'm sorry.
Consider. Yeah.
Consider, okay? That if you protect your most vulnerable neighbor, you are included in that. Part of what is happening, this takeover that has been happening for a very long time, is that people keep just focusing on, it doesn't impact me. It actually does. This work from this weekend showed how connected we all are. Because do you know why these people with the I name tag, right, agents, are doing it? Because they're either wanting power or they're so desperate for money to support their own family that they're making this choice.
Yeah.
Okay. So zooming out for a second, there was a participant that was enrolled in a colonizer. Okay. He was so famous that there was a statue built around his role in murdering some indigenous folks on this land. Okay. And he was so like, how dare you speak to me like that and take your power from me? It was just this big. And what we realized was he came from desperate means. When you are nurtured and attuned and loved from real love, right? Not things. When you are attuned to, you don't have this endless need for everything, which is the virus of whiteness and supremacy thinking. Okay? It's that bottomless pit. They need more and more to puff them up. But the reason why they're so puffed up, this thinking, is because they're protecting this very wounded part. So what I need folks to consider is tend to your wounded part, be scared, and act. Do something to feed the land, your neighbors. Do something to protect someone else, to remind you that you are a human being and we are social creatures. Every time I think, look at this.
I notice. Yeah.
Every time I try to liberate, my voice crunches down because I've been punished for being the truth teller in my family.
Yeah.
I'm going to tend to this for a second.
Please do. Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I love your feedback. What I heard in that was when we can and we notice people doing things alone to join them.
Yes.
Yeah, like even in talking with the person on my street about this, there was a felt sense of, oh, we're not alone in this. We can do this together if this happens here.
Because another example was this woman did a live and was like, everyone that's on this street, come out now. And if you're not on the street, come to this street and show up for this neighbor. Right? These were these workers that like climbed up to the top of a roof of a building. Everyone in the community came and just stood around building a human chain around this house so the agents could not go and abduct them.
Yes.
To literally show up physically.
Yeah. I also feel the need to name here, and this might be a whole separate episode, so we can put a pin in it. But what I want to name here is that I think what a lot of us are reckoning with too, with the I people and others in this administration, is there humanity left? So when I said if I was to face an I person, I would do my best, absolute best, to center myself and speak to that. Any glimmer of humanity left? I think so many of us are wondering, is there any left? And that is hard. That is where I can start to feel helpless and hopeless. So I want to name that in case anyone else is feeling that way. And this actually, the way I just worded that actually came up with a client earlier today in a session. And that's a really scary place to be, because it does lead to hopeless and helplessness. Is there any humanity left?
I love that.
And I don't know. That's all very person dependent and specific, right? But I would like to hope, I choose to hope that some of them do.
And I have a boundary here. Can I add?
Sure.
And there comes a time where you choose whether to give any more energy to that person, whether they have their humanity or not. Let it not limit you in your life, because the fact that you're questioning if they have humanity points to you. You're like, do they have any more humanity? It's like, you got these fingers, you have humanity. Focus on that. Build your humanity, protect your light, shine it on other people who want to maintain their humanity, not just their survival, not just protecting themselves. Find the people who are willing to do the work and feed each other. Shift the gaze.
Yeah.
They cannot, this thought form cannot survive if we withdraw all of our life force and our attention from them and focus it on the people, our communities, our human beings. You don't need to wait on them.
No.
How does that land when I say
that lands
okay,
spot on? For me, what comes up is this is literally how people have survived.
Yes. Oh, 100%. Yeah.
So it's a remembering.
Yes.
This is actually why Judy and I can be here today.
Yes.
This is why you all can be here today, is somewhere along the way, community showed up, community invested in their community. Yeah.
So I'm going to put the first constellation with the second constellation, which was basically, do I focus on reconciling what my ancestors did to all these people? Or do I focus on this other grief that I'm dealing with? And basically it's just deal with the thing that's most present here. And then if your ancestor did stuff, take it as not your debt to pay from this place of lack, right? Digest it, acknowledge this is what my ancestors did, and I benefited from it. And now I'm going to choose to do this. Not from a place of like debt, like you should be ashamed of yourself, small size circle. No, thank you. That's how we've all been trained to show up in, right? this extraction of our life force to justify that I'm a good person or I'm a good mother or I'm a good child. You're fucking good enough. Let's just take that off the table, okay? Just don't waste any more energy or your life force on if I'm good or bad. You're good. You deserve love no matter what, okay? Including if you abduct people. You're going to have to reconcile that, okay? But that's within your boundary. That's your choice, okay? But we are taking completely off the table if your circle size, your value, your worth diminishes or expands based on any fucking thing. Done, okay? Just keep focusing on, I am good enough. I'm going to show up for myself and another so I can learn how to be a human being in relationship with healthy boundaries. Okay. And I'm going to give from this place of feeling connected to the land, to the sun, my ancestors that are healthy and well, grounded to my mother country. If you don't know where that is, do some research because you need to know. You need to know where you come from. Okay, that's important. Even if you're adopted, you can connect to land. You're of this planet. Okay, and just keep doing that work so you're giving from a place of connectedness and not from a place of debt. You don't owe anyone. Okay, but if you are connected to ancestry that did harm, you are responsible for doing some work. So I'm calling you into that. Sorry, I feel like I'm going off on these other.
I'm taking in your words. Taking it in. I
Yeah,
think it's all connected.
it's all connected. You know what's so amazing is I have so much life force energy now. The more that I'm like, oh, yes, that was your choice, and you go deal with that. Not my, I have been socialized as a female at birth, and I have been socialized as a martyr mother. I am no longer cleaning up shit that is not mine. I banish you. No, thank you.
Yes.
Okay. But do you know what happens when you clean up your boundaries and clear out this generational stuff? You have so much more energy and you need so much less stuff.
Yes.
It is so liberating. I'm so much more present with my kids.
Yes.
Oh my God. And it didn't cost me
anything.
It's just time and like self-investment of exploration of these shadow parts.
Yeah.
That connected me with beauty. I have rows of ancestors behind me. I'm not alone. That is blowing my fucking mind. I always thought I was a black sheep. I'm a rainbow sheep and I've got a lot of backing. How are you doing in your body, Leah?
I'm okay. Yeah, I'm just grounding in. Yeah, I'm grounding this lively energy. And it's not bad. It's not a bad thing. I'm just needing to ground myself in it. So I'm hearing you and I'm grounding it. Yeah. Yeah, I actually feel like what you just said speaks to the aftermath of some of these experiences, if we can go there for a minute. Because what I'm noticing in my body might also be what other people are noticing just from this, listening to this call, right? It's an activation of a sort. Transmission is when we suddenly receive a lot of life force energy, or we're on the receiving end of it, our bodies can have experiences. And our bodies can have experiences within experiences. So Judy described her experience immediately after facilitating this workshop. Right?
Frozen in fear.
Frozen in fear. You could witness her liveliness come online here. And I didn't feel like I was shrinking or diminishing when your life force came online. What I felt was, yeah, like I said, I needed to actually ground it. Because for me, it felt,
Yes.
how do I describe it? Because it's not, so your energy is not mine, but and that's not a bad thing. It's just like your energy is your energy and my energy is my energy, and there is connection. But for me, I think in order to like actually absorb it and hold it because it wasn't mine, I
Yes.
needed to ground.
Yes.
It was like a socket, having a grounding.
Like a lightning rod.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And so know that people can start, when you move through this work, people can start to have symptoms of like more of what could be referred to as like spiritual awakening,
Or existential crisis.
existential crisis. Through a psychiatric lens, it
Yes.
would look like an increase in mental health symptoms, right? And so it's important to name that in a lot of ways, these are natural ways that our body starts to move through this energy and move with this energy.
Right.
So that can look like insomnia. It can look like oversleeping. It can look like all these things that we might say are a symptom of depression or anxiety or mania. And the question I offer you, if that starts happening for you, either after we're watching this or other work that you engage in, is what is two words that come up? What's the antidote?
Yes.
And what's the medicine for it? So essentially, like, what are we bringing to it that would help balance that energy? Right? Anxiety and insomnia can often be like the fire element. So how are we bringing water to that? So that could literally be like going and sitting by water. It could be taking a hot bath. It could be drinking it, a shower. So it's what is the antidote or the polarity that will help balance and neutralize that energy a bit?
Yeah.
That's what I want to leave people with.
Yeah. And to clarify, you bring up something really important. We've been taught that our boundaries, that we actually, none of us have learned what healthy boundaries look like. Okay. So the boundary is this where I end. So it's like I always imagine myself as a globe of light and everyone else is their own globe of light, same size globe as me, no matter what. Okay. So it's the ending of me and the start of someone else. In case anyone was activated and, oh my gosh, I need to do work like Judy's doing, or I need to show up in the community like she told me, or what. No, you go into your boundary and figure out what is one thing that I can do. Okay? I'm not telling you how to be. We're not enmeshed. Okay? And you also don't have to be like rejecting of it all.
Right.
Just like figure out like the pieces that you want to marinate on and like ingest. We're cross-pollinating here. Okay. This is free will. You can do whatever you want. It just means who you get close proximity to. That's the thing. I have friends who will not engage in this work. I'm pulling my life force energy and going somewhere else who will. Not because I don't love them, but because it doesn't feed me. Why am I going to give over so much energy to people who don't see that they're benefiting from that? You know what I mean? It's not
Totally.
conditional love. It's not my community. I'm going to shift my attention from this thing that's not feeding me, capitalism, white bodies, a part of the patriarchy. I'm going to withdraw my life force energy and put it in somewhere else where I can generate and support and grow and nurture. So I get that same benefit because I'm in right relationship with. Does that make sense?
A lot of sense.
So in case you're overwhelmed, put up a boundary and go, nothing wrong with me, nothing wrong with them. What's this data telling me? Oh, I'm being self-critical. My value is not contingent on anything. Who taught me to be self-critical? Go into inquiry. Don't believe things you think. Feel into your body. Reconnect there. There's wisdom in your body.
And this is where curiosity is so important.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think another thing I just landed on, because we used it earlier too, is like asking ourselves what thought form is present here.
Yes.
To Judy's question, what's the data telling me? What thought form is present here? Yeah. Anything else that wants to come through?
The thing that I left with from the group was a lot of hope. That the shift that needs to happen is very small, like in the lived experience. What needs to happen is just clarity and bringing things into the conscious awareness, banishing it from your boundary, banishing it from your energy field. Banish it. You don't have to figure out how. You just go, I banish the thoughts that do not serve me right now.
Yeah.
That's it.
And those of you that work with guides, you can also ask them to do that for you.
And you don't ask them how. You just go, please help me with this. And then express gratitude. Do not extract from your guides or your ancestors as you do with your body. Okay? Be an appreciation. Offer something to the land as a thank you. Practice what it feels like to be in a consensual and right relationship with somebody, including and especially yourself. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take good care. If you know of anyone who needs to hear this, please forward and subscribe. This is still a semi-secret project because we're getting our nervous systems ready to be fully seen.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.